Now, I love my Tesla, and if I can go back in time, I would definitely buy it again. And while I don't have any major regrets, there are 5 things that I thought like, that is kind of annoying. And these are things I've heard from other Tesla owners as well. So let's go ahead and talk about those 5 things, starting with number 1, the depreciation. Now, when I got my Model 3 back in 2022, it was like right around the peak pricing. And the Model Y you see behind me, some of these were going for north of $70,000. So in just the past 2.5 years, a lot of owners who bought around that time have had their car's value go down a lot. Like my Model 3's value has gone down faster than my confidence when I try to parallel park. However, I think a big reason for the big value loss or depreciation is because the new cars that Tesla makes today are a substantially lower price. Like again, going back to my Model 3, that same car and trim today costs $15,000 less brand new today than it did when I bought it just 2.5 years ago. And it's been refreshed, so you get a bunch of new looks and new features for a much better price. But again, I don't really regret it because I got to drive it for the past 2.5 years and I've enjoyed it so much. But the older owners, I will say, I guess we did take a bit of an L here if you want to sell our car because the depreciation has gone down a lot. But again, if you're a new owner today, I wouldn't worry about that too much because the reason for that, like I said, is because these cars are just a great value today. Now for number 2, I hear this a lot, but me personally, I don't have an issue on my end, but I hear that when people are budgeting for their new Tesla, the insurance costs are sometimes way more than they expect. But our insurance isn't too bad at all. We pay less than $300 for both our Model 3 and our Model Y, and we have pretty good coverage as well. And I know your insurance premium depends a lot on how you drive or where you live, but I have heard people get very high quotes for their Model 3 or Model Y. Now, if that's you and you have a terrible driving history, I don't want to hear you complain because, like I said, my wife and I pay less than $300 here in Nevada for Tesla insurance, and we both have clean histories. So while we pay just as much for insurance as we would with any other car around this price point, if you're in the market for a new or a used Tesla, I would get some quotes ahead of time just to kind of budget in what you'll be paying for your insurance. Now, third on this list, I want to talk about the range or the range anxiety as people call it, especially on road trips because you won't get the EPA estimated miles of range on your road trips, although the range you get is not as far off as some people make it out to be, which I don't think should be super unexpected. If you're going to go 70 or 80 miles an hour on the highway continuously, you probably shouldn't expect to get the EPA rated range in any car. But with Teslas, they're a little more sensitive to extreme weather. So for example, if you're going on a long road trip in sub-freezing temperatures, you might get like half the EPA range, which kind of sucks. Now luckily, Tesla superchargers, especially nowadays, are pretty much everywhere. So what that just means is you'll have to stop more often on those colder, longer road trips. But even on those very cold days, your car automatically preconditions, so when you go to plug in, you'll still get that fast charge as if it was a normal day outside. But my point is, on those colder or super hot road trip days, you'll get a lot less range than you might expect. But when it comes to city driving, range anxiety shouldn't really be a thing. Now, if you're a new owner to Teslas or EVs in general, I understand it. It's something new, it's a little scary, but you'll quickly realize, like most people do, that owning a Tesla is like leaving your house every day with a full tank of gas. So even if your range is like 300 miles, how often in a day do you drive over 300 miles where you're not going on a road trip? And when you are on the road trips, the superchargers are there for a reason. And that kind of brings me to my next point that I want to talk about, number 4 on this list, which is at-home charging. But the regret might not be what you think. Now, having at-home charging is incredibly convenient for owning a Tesla. Like I said, it's like you leave your house every day with a full tank of gas. So the regret I've heard about at-home charging from 2 friends I've had who have bought Teslas is that they regret upgrading their charger at home to getting a Tesla wall connector, when in reality, they just didn't need it. Now, the Tesla wall connector is great for at-home charging. You get a ton of extra miles, a lot of range really fast, but it does come with hundreds, if not thousands of dollars of installation costs. But the reality is you can charge your Tesla on any standard outlet. And yes, that includes the same outlet that you use to charge your iPhone. Now, yeah, of course, it's a slower charge, but if you can charge overnight, unless you drive way more than the average person, you should have plenty of range for your daily driving. So my recommendation for new owners is to, if you have access to a standard outlet, try using that first because you can always upgrade at any time. But if you're like the average driver, that outlet should be enough for you. And in the case that you do need a faster charge or more range overnight, you can always upgrade your outlet to a NEMA 1450. This is the same outlet that typical washers and dryers usually use. You'll get a much faster charge here, not as much as the Tesla wall connector, but almost as much for usually a fraction of the price. Now for number 5 on these 5 list of regrets, I want to come inside here and talk about full self-driving. So with full self-driving, that means that Teslas can drive themselves 100% autonomously, right? Well, kinda. Now today, full self-driving is actually pretty great. Most people who have it say they love it, but it does still require human supervision. Tesla says they will be rolling out unsupervised full self-driving later this year, in just a few months here, but we'll see about that. It's amazing. It's really mind-blowing how close it seems to be to unsupervised. So we'll see if it actually happens, but as of today, like I said, it still requires you to be here in the driver's seat, paying attention to the road while it drives autonomously. And there's a couple things that I've seen with this. So first of all, some people who see full self-driving see it, buy a Tesla, and think that these things can drive themselves completely unsupervised, and like I said, it's just not the case yet. Now the second thing about full self-driving, it's a paid upgrade. Autopilot comes free, standard on every Tesla. It's meant for your highway driving. Unlike FSD, it won't change lanes for you, it won't stop at stop signs, it won't make turns. It's meant for highway driving, and on road trips, it's really all you need. But that unsupervised full self-driving or supervised full self-driving as of today, that's a paid upgrade. And the third thing I've heard about people who have bought Teslas in the past that have been promised that their cars will one day be able to achieve unsupervised full self-driving, this isn't really the case. Elon has come out and said the older hardware versions of Teslas will unlikely be able to achieve unsupervised full self-driving. Now, if you're buying a new Tesla today, you'll get hardware version 4, which Tesla has said continuously will be able to achieve unsupervised full self-driving. But if you're like me, even in 2022, my Model 3 is on hardware version 3, so that car will unlikely be able to achieve that. Now, I do have one more extra or bonus regret for you guys that I had immediately after my purchase, and my regret is that I knew almost everything about this car before I got it. Now, don't get me wrong, I was still incredibly excited when I got my Model 3, but like you guys are doing right now, I watched a ton of YouTube videos about how-tos and secret features and learning this and that when I got my car, I knew so much that I didn't get as much of that new car excitement as I would have got if I didn't really know too much going into it. Like, I've seen some of my friends take deliveries who don't know as much as I do about the car, and seeing them discover and learn new things and get that new feeling, I just didn't get a lot of that. Which is fine, and to be fair, there are still a ton of settings and really hidden features that I've learned about over the past 2.5 years that I didn't know when I first got my car, but I spent a lot of time on YouTube learning about it. So if that's you, just know you might be missing out on that new car excitement, and if you don't want to do that, stop watching these videos. But if you don't want to stop watching, that's cool, I appreciate it. I got a ton more videos for you guys on my channel as well. They'll be popping up right now, here, or one will be subscribed, one will be a video. Click on both. I'd appreciate that if you want more content. But as always, thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one.